Kane and I wanted to portray a united front, but I always felt like, and you know, especially in the beginning, Terry was on a whole nother playing field than we were. It was 3 against 1, and she was not looking out for Kyron. She was not interested in helping in any way. So I think a lot of that will surprise people in the book. I would say both. Yeah. There was things that she, you know, for instance, when we were driving to the very first media thing that we did at the church, we were driving and we were all in a van, and I was looking out the window and, you know, searching for Kyron, and she leaned over to me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm searching for Kyron. I'm looking for him." There were searchers all over the road, vests and dogs and yelling, you know, for Kyron. It was always that way. And she was surprised at that, kind of pshawed it. And I looked at her thinking, why aren't you looking for Kyron? It was odd. And so things like that occurred, she actually would go out of her way to compromise a situation when we had suggested not to do something like that, and she would do it anyway. You know, there was a lot of her own actions not helping her situation.
She would do things that would...
Yes. Yeah, she went out of her way to, I would say, mislead law enforcement or direct them to anybody but her. So she was throwing all kinds of stuff up, and then we would go to, well, of course, they want to confirm the story or whatever she's saying, and then they never could. For instance, she had thrown out one location where Kyron could be, and her description of it wasn't even not even accurate whatsoever. And so, of course, law enforcement had her with them to drive them to this location, and it was false information. None of it was accurate. And so things like that you see through the book, and just it reveals a lot of, I would say, where her mind was at.
In the wrong direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Physically leading them in the wrong direction.
Yes. Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
Leading them in the wrong direction.
Yeah, there were several different versions, you know, of her timeline. She was the only one of all of us that was having a challenge in the house and was actually having to sit down and type up her timeline to back into it. And all the rest of us were already cleared, investigated, we were able to prove where we were at that day, hands down, no questions. And she was the only one that came back and said, "Oh, well, maybe I forgot about the craft store I went to." And then we start backing into it. Well, there was no camera footage that proves that you were there, and well, the lady says you weren't there either, and you start really tearing it apart, and well, that wasn't really true. And so, well, maybe I was at the craft store on a different day, and there was so many different versions of what she was telling people and where she was at. I still know to this day what I had for lunch. I know everything I did that day. That was the day that our world turned upside down. I can tell you where I was. There's no way that she doesn't know where she was at.